Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the world of a creature that's both weird and wonderful, the bumblebee bat. We've got some articles and research about this tiny mammal,
Yeah,
and I'm excited to unpack it all with you today.
it's going to be fun.
So, I guess first things first, we're
Yeah.
talking about the smallest mammal on Earth.
Right.
When we say small, how small are we talking? Like,
Oh.
could it fit on the tip of my finger small?
Basically, yeah. They only measure about an inch long.
Wow.
So yeah, picture the size of a bumblebee.
Oh,
That's actually where they get their name from.
okay.
And the weight.
Yeah.
We're talking a mere 2 grams.
Mm.
So that's lighter than a dime.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's mind-bogglingly small.
Yeah, it is.
No wonder they're so hard to study.
Oh, definitely.
So where do these miniature marvels call home?
Primarily in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
You'll find them in the limestone caves of Thailand and Myanmar.
Limestone cave. Talk about a challenging environment to study. I mean,
Right.
how do researchers even locate them in those dark, intricate spaces?
Well, it's a lot of patience, a lot of specialized equipment,
Yeah.
and a good dose of luck.
Oh, wow.
One of the main tools that they use is a harp trap.
A harp trap.
Yeah, it's basically a fine net stretched across the cave openings.
So they're literally catching these bats mid-flight.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, and remember, these are a species that emerges at dusk,
Right.
and they use echolocation to navigate
Oh, yeah.
and hunt
That's right.
in complete darkness.
I was just going to ask about that. So echolocation is like their superpower.
It's essential for their survival.
Right.
So they emit these incredibly high-pitched calls
Okay.
that bounce off objects, allowing them to create a sound map of their surroundings.
So they can kind of see with sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like they have built-in night vision goggles.
That's a great way to put it. But given their size,
Yeah,
their echolocation calls must be pretty faint.
they are pretty faint, but they're highly specialized.
Okay.
And the shape of their snout actually helps to focus and amplify those calls.
Their snout. What do you mean by that?
Well, their snout is kind of pig-like,
Oh.
and that actually helps to direct and amplify those echolocation calls.
Wait, so that cute little snout isn't just for looks?
No, not at all.
Wow. So it's like a tiny biological satellite dish.
You got it.
That's incredible.
It allows them to pinpoint even the tiniest insects
Oh, wow.
with incredible precision.
Okay, so we've established they're tiny.
Yes.
They live in caves,
Uh-huh.
and they hunt using echolocation.
Yes.
But what are they actually eating?
They're insectivores,
Okay.
which means their diet consists mainly of insects.
Makes sense.
Now, their size might make you think that they only snack on a few bugs here and there.
Right. I would think so.
The reality is much more impressive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
A bumblebee bat can devour its entire body weight in insects every single night.
Whoa, that's like me eating my weight in pizza every day.
It's a lot of pizza.
Yeah, but I guess all that flying and echolocating burns a lot of calories.
Absolutely. Their metabolism is just a marvel of adaptation.
Hmm.
They can switch between bursts of intense activity during flight
Okay.
and then periods of energy conservation while roosting in
Huh.
those cooler caves.
It's like they have a built-in energy-saving mode.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, I've always been curious about how something so small regulates its body temperature.
It's a good question.
Doesn't being tiny make them more vulnerable to the cold?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But they've got a few tricks up their furry little sleeves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like what? So spill the beans. How do these tiny bats stay warm in those chilly caves?
Well, unlike most bats, they don't rely heavily on thick fur.
Oh.
For insulation, their fur is actually quite sparse.
It is. That's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah, you would think so.
Less warmth, right?
Right. But remember how we talked about their high-energy metabolism? Well, part of that adaptation involves generating heat internally,
Oh, okay.
so they can shiver their muscles,
Chill.
warm up quickly when needed.
So they're like tiny furry furnaces.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But you know, it makes you wonder, what's the evolutionary advantage of being so small?
Right.
I mean, it seems like there would be more challenges than benefits.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something that scientists have been exploring for years.
Hmm.
One theory is that their small size allows them to access insects
Okay.
and nectar sources
Yeah.
that larger bats just can't reach.
Oh.
So think about all those tiny crevices and flowers.
Right.
That would be inaccessible to a bigger bat.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so they've kind of carved out their own little niche
Yeah.
in the ecosystem.
It's a classic case of less is more. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But even with all these amazing adaptations, it's hard not to think about the threats they face.
Right.
I mean, habitat loss is a major issue for so many species these days.
Absolutely. A huge concern.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the bumblebee bat is no exception.
Right.
They're particularly vulnerable
Okay.
because of their specialized habitat requirements.
So those limestone caves are really important.
Yeah, they're lifeline,
Yeah.
providing roosting sites,
Okay.
protection from predators.
So what are the biggest threats to these caves?
Mm-hmm.
Is it all about mining and development?
Those are definitely major factors.
Okay.
Limestone is a valuable resource,
Right.
so mining operations can directly destroy
Oh, wow.
or disturb cave habitats.
And as human populations grow,
Yeah,
the demand for land increases,
right.
leading to deforestation and habitat fragmentation.
Exactly.
So not only are they losing their homes,
Yeah,
but their foraging areas are shrinking too.
it's a double whammy.
And there's another threat that might surprise you.
Oh, what's that?
Tourism.
Tourism.
Yeah, I mean, I get that people want to see these incredible caves,
Right.
but how can that be harmful to the bats?
Well, even seemingly harmless activities like cave tours
Yeah.
can have unintended consequences.
Oh, really?
Yeah, things like noise and light pollution from visitors
Hmm.
can really disrupt the bats' roosting and breeding patterns.
Oh, so it's not just about the physical destruction of the caves,
Right.
but also the disruption of their delicate ecosystem.
You got it.
So what can be done to protect these amazing bats? Is it all doom and gloom?
I wouldn't say doom and gloom.
Okay.
There's definitely hope,
Good.
but it requires a multifaceted approach
Okay.
that involves research,
Okay.
conservation,
Uh-huh.
education,
Okay.
and collaboration.
That sounds like a tall order. Can you break it down for us?
Sure, so on the research front,
Okay.
scientists are working tirelessly to understand the bumblebee bat's population dynamics,
Okay.
habitat use, and genetic diversity.
So it's like gathering intel to help plan their defense.
Exactly. And on the conservation side,
Yeah.
there are efforts to protect and restore key cave habitats. This involves working with governments and local communities
Right.
to establish protected areas,
Yeah.
implement sustainable mining practices,
Uh-huh.
and promote responsible tourism guidelines.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act
It is.
between human needs and bat conservation.
You're right.
But education and awareness are also vital, right?
Oh, they're essential.
Yeah.
The more people understand the importance of these tiny creatures
Right.
and the threats they face,
Yeah.
the more likely they are to support conservation efforts.
It's about shifting perspectives, right?
Yeah,
Making people realize that these bats aren't just creepy creatures lurking in the dark,
right.
but fascinating and vital members of our ecosystem.
Exactly.
And there are incredible organizations dedicated to bat conservation worldwide.
There are.
Like who?
Well, organizations like Bat Conservation International
Okay.
and the Wildlife Conservation Society.
They're doing amazing work
They are.
on the ground, conducting research, advocating for policy changes, and educating the public about the importance of bats.
Absolutely.
Like it's a global effort
It is.
involving scientists, conservationists,
Yeah.
policymakers,
Yeah.
and everyday people who care about these creatures.
That's right.
We've been focusing a lot on the challenges and the solutions.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to something you said earlier.
Okay.
Understanding the bumblebee bat's population dynamics,
Uh-huh.
what are scientists finding? Are their numbers stable?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not a simple answer.
Oh, no.
Some studies suggest that their populations are relatively stable in certain areas,
Okay.
but others show a worrying decline
Oh, wow.
in others. So the lack of a clear consensus
Makes conservation efforts even more challenging.
it definitely adds complexity to the equation.
So there's still a lot we don't know
Yeah.
about their overall status.
We need more research to get a clearer picture.
It sounds like there's still a lot of work to be done to ensure the survival of these tiny bats, but what does a successful conservation effort even look like for the bumblebee bat? What would be the key indicators?
I think one of the most important signs would be an increase in the number of known roosting sites.
Okay.
You know, if we're discovering more caves where these bats are thriving,
Yeah.
that would suggest their populations are expanding and their habitat is being protected.
So more bats, more caves. That's the goal.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
Okay.
But it's not just about quantity. You know, it's also about quality.
Right.
We need to make sure that those roosting sites are healthy and undisturbed.
So minimizing human impact,
Yeah,
controlling pollution, making sure that the surrounding ecosystem is in good shape.
Exactly.
So it's all about creating a network of safe havens where these bats can thrive.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
Imagine a network of protected caves,
Okay.
connected by corridors of healthy forest.
So they can move freely.
Exactly.
It's like creating a bat superhighway.
I like that analogy.
And it's not just about the bats themselves, right?
Right.
They play a vital role in their ecosystem.
Absolutely.
A healthy bumblebee bat population means a healthy ecosystem.
That's a great point.
So by protecting these tiny bats, we're protecting a whole web of life.
Precisely. It's all interconnected.
Right. The insects, they consume the plants. They pollinate the predators that rely on them for food.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
That we need to maintain.
You do.
It's a reminder that every creature, no matter how small, has a purpose.
Absolutely.
And a place in the grand scheme of things.
They do.
Speaking of learning, this deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I had no idea just how incredible these tiny bats are and how much they contribute to our world.
Me too.
So what's the one key takeaway you would like our listeners to remember about the bumblebee bat?
Well, I think it's the realization that size isn't everything.
Yeah.
You know, these tiny creatures might be small, but their impact is enormous. They're a reminder that even the most unassuming species can play a vital role
Yeah.
in maintaining the delicate balance of our ecosystems.
Well said.
Thanks.
It's a reminder that we all have a responsibility to protect the incredible biodiversity of our planet, no matter how big or small the creature.
That's right.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep advocating for the amazing creatures that share our world.
Until next time, stay curious.
And remember, even the tiniest bat can make a big